For the second fight of the night, we've got Wellington Turman, 18-7, 3-5 in the UFC now, coming up against Jared Gooden, 22-9, 1-4 in the UFC. So pretty rough run for him. And really, Wellington Turman coming off the back of two losses, two straight decision losses, with the latter being up against Randy Brown, who was able to knock Gooden out of the UFC back in 2021. And Gooden didn't make weight in his last fight. That's been a common theme throughout a lot of his fights, where he struggled to make weight by a good number, but you don't really see it affect him too much. And we'll get into that in a second. But that was against Carlston Harris, who ironically beat Wellington Turman by unanimous decision back in 2016 when they were both on Immortal FC. But Turman fighting at 170 pounds for the second time now in the UFC, moving down, was the bigger fighter in his first fight. Now should be, in theory, the bigger fighter, unless Jared Gooden comes up and doesn't make weight again. But I know you're big anti people who don't make weight. So I would love to hear your thoughts on Gooden and sort of the matchup as a whole with Turman moving down to 170.
For sure. There's the anti-making weight fade. There's the OnlyFans fade. There's a couple others in the book. But with Turman, you look at the guy, and he's just a super scary Brazilian dude. Like, the guy's shredded. He's got a tattoo across the middle of his chest and a pretty cool sleeve, I have to admit. But however, in my opinion, like, with the nickname The Prodigy, and a lot of these guys have the nicknames like this. It's so dumb. But he hasn't really lived up to The Prodigy, right? He's been with the promotion since 2019, holds a record of 3-5. 1 sub, 2 decisions, and a couple of knockout losses and a few decision losses too. His 2 wins are to Sam Alvey and to Misha Cernikov, who are both no longer in the UFC. So for me, it's like when you move down to welterweight from middleweight last time out and you lose handily to Randy Brown, who stud. I mean, hey, big Rude Boy fan here. It's just there's not a lot that you're able to do heading into your next fight for me to be like, wow, can't wait to watch this one. And then you go to Jared Gooden, and he's 1-4 in the UFC. He missed weight at 177, to your point last time. So that's not like a 1 or 2 pound thing. Like, he missed weight you can weigh in at 171 and make weight in the UFC. You can go 1 over. He weighed in 6 pounds over last time. Like, that's just not a great look when you get kicked out of the UFC. You miss weight in your final fight in the UFC. They bring you back and you miss weight again. It's just not a good look.
Also against Randy Brown.
Yeah, also against Rude Boy. Rihanna there, shout out. But I think when you compare the resumes, for me, that's the difference here. Where you look at the guys that Gooden has lost to, Randy Brown, I'm going to butcher the name, Kasangane, who's now at the PFL, which, I mean, I touched on it briefly in the last preview. Hey, $1 million winner there, man. I mean, congrats to the light heavyweight champion. He moved up from middleweight to light heavyweight, whereas Gooden has done the opposite and moved from middleweight to welterweight. But you lost to a $1 million winner over the weekend in the PFL now, so that's another good loss. I think, and Rick, in part of my tape study, I've done some scouting out what some of our other counterparts in the MMA media space have said. There are some guys in the space that are saying, "Oh, well, Wellington has the advantage in experience." I disagree. I think Gooden has the advantage in experience, where his resume is so much better. The people he's fought are a lot better, where I give him the edge here. And I'm interested to see what you think from a tactical standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Turman definitely has a better camp. He trains with Poatan and Glover. And his calf kicks reflect. I mean, they are very Poatan-esque in that, like, it only takes a couple and they're hurting. You're limping, you're circling, you're doing whatever. And he's got the better skills. I mean, he is definitely the more skilled MMA fighter. He's got it on the ground with his BJJ, on the feet. He's got every weapon you can think of. But the issue is all of the intangibles. Every one of the intangibles he misses. He doesn't have durability. He's not able to fight through. He can get washed in every fight. He's been slept multiple times. And even that win against Misha Cirkunov, he was wobbled in that fight. He almost got finished in the first round before being able to get in that armbar. And he struggles to be able to blend all of his different skill sets together. Now, flipping over to Gooden, though, he's durable, which you don't like to know, especially when he has taken, I mean, and he will take tons of clean shots. And Turman's a big guy. Obviously, we mentioned that he's coming down in weight. He's a big guy. And Gooden does himself no favors, keeping his arms by his side, jabbing to but he does have good, powerful strikes. And I do think that he's going to have the striking advantage in this fight. And he's got good takedown defense. In that Carlston Harris fight, he did really well, not allowing any takedowns, stuffing them all early. And then when Carlson Harris was able to get it when he tired out a little bit, that's when it was a little bit more questionable. But the fight IQ, the durability, the inability to mesh all of his different abilities for Turman just gives me a red flag, gives me pause in this fight against a guy in Gooden who's never going to go away. Like, he's going to be able to take a punch and then give one right back to you. And if he can do that and keep it on the feet, I think Gooden as a dog is very live in this fight, despite being far less talented, which is weird to say. He doesn't make weight, but that never really inhibits his ability. It's not like he's hurt. It's a consistent thing. And so I've got him to finish in the first or second round. Plus, I've got to find the odds again. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you while I'm finding the odds, Andy. What do you got in this fight?
Yeah, so betting wise, I'm going to stay away with two guys that are so shitty in the UFC. No offense to them, respect to their game and all that, but I can't I cannot legitimately be like, I'm going to put my money on this unless I'm going to find some really good value flyers, which you're looking up now. But for a pick standpoint, I am going to go with the underdog here. If I'm going to go with Gooden. I really feel sincerely that he has the advantage stylistically. I feel like he has the advantage from an experience standpoint. And I don't think the odds should be this far separated. I mean, from MMA odds standpoint, he's a average underdog. He's not like a huge underdog by any means, but I do think that you're still finding good value. If you decide to bet on Gooden in this one, then go ahead. I mean, I think that you're really finding good value in what should be a lot closer odds-wise, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've got Gooden inside the distance. I think that if we go to a decision, like, he's going to wane in the second half of this fight more than likely. I think that his best case is being able to wobble and then be able to finish Wellington Turman. And don't sleep on his ability on the ground either. Wellington Turman is the BJJ guy who's going to get the headlines here. But Jared Gooden's got 7 submissions to his name as well. I mean, he's well-versed on the ground too. He's slippery. And that takedown defense, even if it lacks, he can do a little bit on the ground. So it could be interesting there. I don't think that he'll get a submission. But inside the distance, I've got him at plus 300. And I'll put a half unit on that. I'm fairly confident in Gooden to be able to get it done. So half unit for me, no bet for Andy, but we're both going with Gooden. Next fight, we've got an interesting one with Rodolfo Bellato making his UFC debut against Ihor Potieria. Thanks for tuning in again to another episode of the Pilsners and Prelims podcast out of Happy Hour Sports. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the message or enjoyed the podcast. And be sure to tune in to our future videos as we break down each and every UFC card each week. Looking forward to seeing you then, and thanks again for the support. Appreciate it.